Today, I have cabbage and tomatoes in my hands, two very familiar ingredients that almost every family has in their kitchen. Many people usually only use cabbage for boiling or stir-frying, and tomatoes for making soup. But when these two ingredients are combined correctly, we'll have a dish that's both fragrant, refreshing, and very appetizing. Today, Ruby Home will share with you a simple way to prepare this dish, one that anyone can successfully make at home. Let's get started. First, I'll prepare the cabbage. I place the cabbage on a cutting board and cut it in half with a knife. Then, I place the cut side down on the cutting board to stabilize the cabbage, making slicing easier and safer. Next, I'll slice the cabbage lengthwise into moderately sized strips. After slicing all of them, I'll continue slicing crosswise into small bite-sized pieces. You can adjust the size according to your family's preference, but I usually slice them to a moderate size so that when cooked, the cabbage cooks evenly, retains its natural crispness, and absorbs seasonings better. After slicing, I put all the cabbage into a clean bowl and add water. Next, I gently stir it with my hands, lifting and lowering it several times so that the water penetrates each layer of leaves, helping to wash away dirt and impurities. You should wash very gently to avoid crushing the cabbage leaves. If the water is still cloudy, you can change it again with clean water to ensure the cabbage is thoroughly cleaned before cooking. Once washed, remove all the cabbage and place it in a large bowl to drain. I add a little sea salt to the bowl of cabbage, then gently mix it with my hands so that the salt coats all the cabbage. While mixing, I gently stir and squeeze the cabbage to ensure the salt comes into even contact with each piece, but not too hard so that the cabbage retains its natural crispness. After mixing, I let the cabbage soak for a while to allow the salt to take effect. While waiting, I prepare the remaining ingredients for the dish. While waiting for the pickled cabbage, I'll take the opportunity to prepare the remaining ingredients so that everything is ready when I start cooking. First, the tomatoes. I'll prepare 2 tomatoes, then use a knife to lightly score the bottom of each tomato in a cross shape, dividing it into 4 sections. Note that you should only score just enough on the skin, not too deep into the tomato flesh. Doing so will make peeling easier in the next step, while still maintaining the shape of the tomato. After scoring, I'll put the 2 tomatoes in a bowl and pour warm water over them until they are completely submerged. I'll let the tomatoes soak for a few minutes so the skin starts to peel off. While waiting, I'll prepare the other ingredients to save time. Next, the eggs. I'll take a clean bowl and crack 3 eggs into it. Then, I'll add a little fish sauce to enhance the flavor of the dish. Next, I use chopsticks to whisk the egg yolks and whites until they are completely combined. Just whisk until the egg mixture is smooth and evenly yellow. Now, let's move on to the green onions. After washing and draining them, I will chop them finely and put them on a separate plate. The green onions will give the dish a pleasant aroma and a more beautiful color. Next is the ginger. I cut the ginger into thin slices, then continue to chop it into thin strips. Ginger will contribute to making the dish more fragrant and adding a distinctive flavor. Then comes the garlic. I take a few cloves of garlic, lightly crush them, then mince or finely chop them. When sautéed, the garlic will release a very fragrant aroma and make the dish more appealing. Finally, the chili. I finely chop 1 chili to add a little spiciness and color to the dish. If your family doesn't like spicy food or has young children, you can adjust the amount of chili to suit their taste. While preparing the other ingredients, the tomatoes have also been soaking for the required time. Now I'll go back to continue the preparation. First, I take each tomato out of the bowl of warm water. At this point, you'll see the skin at the cut end starting to peel slightly. I just need to gently peel it off with my hands, and the skin will come off easily without crushing the flesh inside. After peeling off the skin, I place the tomatoes on a cutting board and cut them into appropriately sized pieces. Next, I use a knife to chop them finely until the tomatoes are finely minced. You don't need to mince them as finely as if you were grinding them. Just chop them finely so that when cooked, the tomatoes will soften quickly and blend easily with the other ingredients. After chopping, I put all the tomatoes into a bowl. After the cabbage has been soaked in salt water for the required time, we'll return to the preparation stage. First, we'll remove all the cabbage from the bowl and transfer it to another basin of clean water for another rinse. This step will help remove any remaining salt clinging to the cabbage and wash away any remaining impurities from the soaking process. While rinsing, gently stir and lift the cabbage several times to allow the water to penetrate each leaf. You should handle it gently to avoid bruising the cabbage, which will help maintain its crispness and attractive appearance during cooking. Once the cabbage is completely clean, we'll remove it and place it in a colander with many drainage holes to drain naturally. You can let it sit for a few minutes to allow the excess water to drain before cooking. Now I'll finish the dish. First, I place the pan on the stove and heat it up. Once the pan is hot enough, I add a moderate amount of cooking oil. Wait for the oil to heat up, then slowly pour the beaten eggs into the pan. At this point, I gently stir with chopsticks or a spatula to allow the eggs to cook slowly. You shouldn't stir too vigorously, as this will cause the eggs to break apart. Just stir gently so that the eggs break into bite-sized pieces and retain their natural softness. When the eggs are cooked and have a beautiful golden color, I gently transfer them to a separate plate. Sautéing the eggs first helps them retain their rich, fragrant flavor and prevents them from breaking apart when stir-fried with the other ingredients in the next step. Next, I use the same pan I used to sauté the eggs. I add the minced garlic first. I stir over medium heat until the garlic becomes fragrant and starts to turn light yellow. The aroma of the garlic will now create a very appealing base for the dish. Once the garlic is fragrant, add all the finely chopped tomatoes to the pan and continue stirring. I stir gently so the tomatoes gradually soften and release their natural juices. Then, I add a little salt to help the tomatoes soften faster and enhance the flavor. I continue stirring for a few minutes until the tomatoes are soft. The tomato juice thickens and turns a beautiful red color. Once the tomatoes are soft and have formed a natural sauce, I add the prepared scallions and ginger mixture to the pan. At this point, I gently stir with a spatula to combine the scallions and ginger with the tomatoes. After a short while, the aroma of ginger begins to spread, combining with the scent of garlic and the mild sourness of the tomatoes to create a very appealing fragrance. The scallions also add color to the dish. Next, I add all the drained cabbage to the pan. While stir-frying, I continuously stir from bottom to top so that the cabbage is evenly coated with the tomato sauce and seasonings. I also adjust the heat to medium so that the cabbage cooks slowly, retaining its natural sweetness and a slight crispness. When the cabbage starts to soften and absorb the flavors evenly, I add the previously sautéed eggs back into the pan. Then, I continue to stir gently to combine the eggs with the cabbage and the tomato sauce. I only stir-fried for a few more minutes, and the dish was complete. At this point, the soft, golden pieces of egg mixed with the crisp, sweet cabbage and the mashed tomatoes created a very beautiful color combination. Now I'll serve the dish. And that's it! Our stir-fried cabbage with tomatoes and eggs is complete. With just familiar ingredients and a simple cooking method, we've created a delicious, visually appealing, and incredibly attractive dish. The cabbage retains its natural crispness and sweetness, the tomatoes add a light, refreshing sourness, and the rich, creamy eggs create a harmonious and very appetizing meal. This dish doesn't take much time to prepare, making it perfect for everyday family meals. Hopefully, the recipe Ruby Home just shared will give you another delicious option to add to your menu and bring more enjoyable meals to your loved ones. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the Ruby Home channel to not miss out on more helpful tips and delicious recipes in future videos. Thank you for watching. Wishing you many delicious meals with your family. Hello, and see you in Ruby Home's next video.